Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again on our journey here to learn about Python and Flet. We're going to add the character onto the background of the game today. To do this, we're using a canvas. The canvas will allow us to have layers. The background will be placed first, and then the character will be placed on top of the background. We're also going to wrap the character in a container to control the position when we move the character in future sections. We're going to go step by step for the character development. We first start with a single frame. A frame is simply an image. In this case, it's a PNG format image. The background is also could be any format, but we're using a JPEG. We're going to then add motion in a single direction. Our game only has 4 directions for simplicity. After we have the character moving and we're satisfied with the movement of a single image frame, then we'll add the frame animation. I'll set up the sprite here. I'll just go above the return statement and I'll create a variable sprite, which will be ft.container. And the content will be the image. We're using a container because it has positions for the left and top, which is how we're moving the character. So the content will be ft.image. Okay, just same with the background. And the image for the source, we'll use it right now with I'll go down 1.png. I'll set the width, I know what it is, 80. And the height will also be 120. Okay. Better add it in. Add the sprite in. We have the sprite right there. I think I'll put the size on the image and then I'll go left equals maybe 200 and top equals 200, and we'll see how it looks. All right, to move the character around, I'm going to create a GameState object. So I'm going to put it into a subfolder here, and I'm going to call the subfolder model. Within model, I'll create a file called game_state.py, and right at the top, I'm going to import something called dataclasses. Import data class from dataclasses, and we'll just import Flet again. Import Flet as ft, and we will use the data class to set up the class in Python a little easier, and we will tag this as ft.observable, which is from Flet. So anytime there's a change to this state, it will update the appropriate screen element. I'm going to start off with 2 integers here. We'll call it sprite x int And I'll set it to be 5 in from the left margin or the left border. And there'll be a sprite Y, which I'm going to set to 300. Int, which will be, it should be a little further down once we start using the state. All right, let's go back to the game.py. And at the top here, we'll set the state. We're not going to use set state, but we will use the use state from Flet, and it will manage the game state. We have to import it from model.GameState, import GameState. So the first connection point is, instead of hard coding the left and right, we will use it from the state dot sprite X, and the top will be state dot sprite Y. So hopefully when we update the state, it will move. We'll just test the positionings to make sure it's using the default value of the state prior to us moving it. So her left edge is 5 pixels in, and the top of her hat to the top of the screen is 300 pixels. Now that we have the state and it's connected to the sprite, we should be able to update the state and the character should move. Right now, we're not using the frames. We're just trying to get it to move as the first step. We'll set up a loop, which will be infinite loop because it's not going to stop. And we're going to need to import async IO. And now with async IO, we can await the async IO.sleep. And we can now update the state. I'll line up with the async def, and then I'll return the fd dot context page dot run task, and it will be the tick. And then we will fd dot use effect start animation with no. Okay, there's an error here. Shouldn't use the set state plus equal, and we don't need the set state anymore. And let's try it like this with the use effect. Okay, and it's working. And she's moving 10 pixels every 0.2 seconds. In the next video, we'll add some buttons and get her to move in multiple directions. Okay, congratulations on getting Pepper to move across the screen. In order to do this, we've had to set up several structures, including the GameState, and we're practicing using this type of state. So there's easier ways to do it where we have a more scalable and a better architected solution. We're using the Python data classes. And the GameState is a Python class that we created, but we attached the decorator data class from Python. We've also attached the decorator ft.observable from the Flet system. And this allows us to change the coordinate, so a value within the class, such as the sprite x. And when we change that, it will update the screen. We're going to dive into some of these concepts in the next video, which I'm going to make a slide so that we can dig deeper into it. The process of learning here is that you use it and you're only maybe vaguely familiar with how to use the observables, use state, run task for the asynchronous task, and use effect. And in the next video, we'll cover it in more detail by using some slides.